Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yeah, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs, down to Biscayne. Kept the flow playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. First, I want to start with a public service announcement. We appreciate you. If you're listening to this podcast, you are one of the true believers. What did Eric Reed always used to talk about? Like if they're like late in like a 20-point loss or something like that, he'd be like, or on the West Coast, he'd be like, you're the true Heat fans. Yes. You're the true Heat fans. Because what we're watching right now, this isn't even the Heat. All right, the Heat lose tonight, 116. Well, maybe it is these days. I don't know. Lose 116-95 to the New York Knicks. Again, took a lead, this time earlier in the game. You knew it wouldn't last. I'll go through some of the box score stuff on this, but we're going to pivot to theme topics because that's where we're at right now. This is now, Brady, I don't have to do the math this time. This is 8 straight, right? 29 and 39. So now 8 straight losses for the Heat. This is officially the longest losing streak of the Erik Spoelstra era. Going to get into that. We thank our guy Greg Sylvander, who we gave the night off to. He deserves it for that little tidbit. Longest losing streak of the Erik Spoelstra era. Duncan Robinson led with 22 points tonight. My brother just texted me, Heat are not good. Yes, that is true. Well, he's a Knicks fan, so I'll give him that. He still lives in New York. Duncan Robinson, 22 points tonight, 8 of 12 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3. Seems to have like one of these games every couple of weeks. Tonight got off to a hot start, wasn't enough. Tyler Hero, 10 of 18 from the floor tonight, 20 points. Not a lot else, though. Bam Adebayo, 5 of 12 from the floor, 12.7 rebounds. Jaime Jaquez got the weird starting lineup for the Heat tonight. Another experimental starting lineup. Jaquez and Highsmith started tonight with Robinson, Adebayo, and Hero. Jaquez had 6 points, was 3 of 9, did have 12 rebounds and 7 assists, more of a playmaking role tonight. Khalil Ware, 10 off the bench, 6 rebounds. And Davion Mitchell, 35 minutes off the bench. Rozier playing only 6, by the way. Couldn't blame him. Davion Mitchell, 3 of 10 from the floor. Well, maybe you could. 3 of 10 from the floor, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. For the Knicks, we're still playing without Brunson. You get 28 from Bridges, 23 from Towns. Who really cares at this point? We're going to get to a couple of different topics here, but should we do the player of the game now? Let's get out of the way. Let's get one of the segments out of the way.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
Brady, all you.
Oh, this is nasty.
That's cool.
I mean, look, I'll just say this. I mean, I'm going to say Towns for the very reason of the fact that he's the one who kind of put this game away early and got Miami's lead away. I mean, Miami was up 12-0 in this game. I feel like I don't have to mention that anymore, but like that's just a fun fact of the night. That things went south pretty quickly. Like you mentioned, not blaming Terry. I'm not, but there was a quick sequence there when Towns was simultaneously going on a 15-0 run himself, where he had that backcourt violation, which I feel like every blown lead includes a backcourt violation, which is the weirdest trend in the world, which also translates to a bad basketball team. Like when you're consistently getting those type of turnovers, and having just that type of stuff pop up, you're just not a good team at that point. And then Like you said, we're not going to talk in full about this game, but I just think they're at a point now where we talked about in the past. They're throwing in the towel a little bit when they do get punched back. Like once they Towns punched back, you just could tell it was over. Like they had a little fight to the end of the first half because I thought Davion was like their only piece of energy in this game. Other than that, I didn't feel a lot of energy. And then it gets to a point in the game where like their starting group in the second half includes Jaime, and they're running offense through him, and it's going absolutely nowhere. He's driving to the basket, they're expecting it, they're getting blocks at the rim, the turnovers are popping up. You had that 6-minute stint from Terry. Like there's different guys that they're playing through at these points in the game, which just felt to me like there's just a giving up on that side of the ball where it's just like whatever happens. So that's the point of the season we're at. We're at an 8-game losing streak, and that's why we're gonna turn to this other theme because Ethan, you pointed this specific thing out, and honestly, the more that the last 6 minutes as we started the show, I've been looking at it more and more, and I'm like, I think this topic is an actual possibility.
Let's get to it. Well, there's two different topics we're going to get to, and we got to get to the two segments also. The one topic, let me just throw this at you before we get to the one that Brady's talking about. Alex, is this the most unwatchable team in the Erik Spoelstra era as head coach? This is since 2008. So you can't include the 15-win team because that's the team that Pat through to Spo after the I don't want to deal with this anymore. I think he actually took a road trip off and had Rothstein coach it. Poor Ronnie. 15 and 67. They're calling up players from the G League. Was it Stefan Lasmy and Kasib Powell is now with the organization and others. So we can't even count that. It's us, Indiana Gaines. Yes, classic name. We can't even talk about that one. So let's just start from 2008, right? Is there even a team that's close to this unwatchable?
No, this is not a tough question whatsoever. Easily the most unwatchable. Like there's been other frustrating seasons you could put it, right? Like even in the Jimmy era, there was seasons like last season, the play-in seasons were frustrating, of course, but none of that stuff compares. Even the in-between seasons there where it was all those journeymen that they signed, which of course, kind of is part of the reason that all of this happened in the first place, right? That they wrapped up their cap space and all of that. Even that team was more fun to watch. Like they just put, more energy into it all. And I think we're at that point, like if you just average it all out, like all those years together, that all of that average of all those seasons is a more cohesive team than what we're seeing right now. So even if some of the individual players that he have on this roster are better, even if the roster as a whole is probably better, the product on the court as of late, like just this post Jimmy product, but especially like on this losing streak specifically, it's just not a cohesive team whatsoever. Like it's so much worse than expected. Like I did not have high expectations myself of this team post Jimmy. I knew that it was going to be tough, but I thought at least that there would be some sort of defensive stability that would keep them in a lot of games. And of course, a lot of these losses have been in fourth quarters, but it's so much worse than that. It's so much worse than that because to me, like their defense is like fake good, not actually good. And then when you look at the numbers, it's not even fake good. It's worse. Like post Jimmy, it's just not good. I don't know what happened to their defense. I don't like as soon as they get like punched in the mouth, whatever point of the game it is, and the momentum just swings and swings as hard as it does, they just don't fight back. They don't fight back. So like the defense might look good for a while. There might be, they might hang around for certain points during a game, but it's not like there's no second and third efforts. They're just, and I think a lot of it is affected by the offense too. Like I think they're losing confidence, and I think that like they're never going to admit to that stuff, or maybe they will. But I just think nobody wants to talk about how our offense sucks, right? Like I don't think the players or the coach want to say our offense sucks, and as a result, when it sucks time and time again, and you're missing shots over and over, it gets in the way of your defense. And like they talked about that in the past, but I think at this point, when you're 8 losses in, how much more do you want to keep talking about it?
Right.
But absolutely, like this team is more unwatchable. It's not even close than any
they have
other
no resilience,
era.
Alex. That's my big thing, and that's what we've talked about in a couple of these episodes. They don't fight back. They really don't. They just let it go. Like it gets. We were talking about like the second or third effort. They barely get to the second effort in the game. The third, forget it. Like once the other team starts to go the other direction, there's nobody to pull this thing together. I think the clearest thing that we've seen during this stretch is the team. They need new talent for sure. No question about that. But they're also going to need some new leadership. I don't see it. I don't see these guys. I don't know. Nothing's registering either. And I know usually that points to the coach. We know there's not going to be a change in the coach. Probably not going to be a change in the captain either. But they need to find some way to gather themselves. They don't. They just don't. Like you know, the game's over. Like you see it. It's just a certain point in the game, and it's done. All right, I want to get to the play of the night here because I really want to pivot. I can't argue with you on this, Alex. It's not a tough question. This is the hardest team to watch, at least over the last month, that I've ever seen them put out there under Spo. It's they don't do anything well.
Like
He's
they either get blown out or they're
Yeah.
blowing the game in terrible fashion. Like it's like the two worst ways to lose.
They don't do anything well. I mean, some of those teams were a little shaky. You know, the Dwayne comeback and everything kind of obscured the fact that those teams weren't very good and all that. But like, it's never looked like this. All right, let's get to the play of the night.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you if you work in a hospital or a medical office. Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
Brady. You're going to lead the set.
Play of the day was the final buzzer. When they dribbled it out and got this thing done with, or we could start this podcast and start this. So I'm just going to flow right into the other topic because you brought it up where we were talking about can they actually fall out of the play-in. We've been acting like they have like this dead stop at the bottom of the standings where they're stuck at 10. But are they? Like, I don't think we thought it would get this bad. I didn't think, we didn't think it would get to this point of an 8-game losing streak where we would be doing a podcast the other night where I'd be asked the question, are they going to win again? So Toronto is right now 24-44. Miami's 29-39. They're 4.5 or 5 games back. Alex, did you have that right?
Five, but Toronto's playing right now, aren't they?
Toronto's playing right now. So this is part of the equation I wanted to bring up. And before we talk about this actual topic, I want to talk about their schedule the rest of the way, because this is why I thought it got a little interesting. They're currently playing the Suns right now. They're up 17-15. It's early when we're recording this. We'll see what happens there. They play Golden State in the next game. This is when it gets interesting. They play the Spurs, Washington, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Philadelphia. That's a bunch of winnable games to finish March. So now we get to April. We get Chicago, Portland, Detroit, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Dallas, San Antonio. I heard a lot of winnable games. Even if you're Toronto, Toronto's a scrappy team that when we talk about like those second and third efforts and trying to win games, Toronto's a team that like has that ability just because they have an identity of a bunch of defensive guys and they can scrap their games, especially behind Scotty and RJ. So there's a scenario here if Miami continues to plummet where like Toronto could legitimately fall here. And the reason why we're bringing it up is not to pile on Miami, but there might be real benefit here that they end up getting, a much, better odds at a higher pick where they could jump in.
Well, I just checked
top 7. So
Brady, to that point, I just checked. They have their pick this year. I just wanted to make sure. So they have, there is some benefit to them missing the playoffs. But they're not going to get a high pick anyway, most likely, because I don't see the way they're playing and with that schedule. I don't see them falling behind Philadelphia and Brooklyn in the East, not to say anything about some of the teams in the West. Toronto has typically been a team under Masai that tries to make a push even if they're out of it. That's been their history. So I'm glad that we found this before the show, because this is literally the only interesting thing left about this season. I really do think that he could lose out. I hate to say it, I don't, because it would be historic, but I'm looking at this thing, and we've done this schedule stuff before, but let's really evaluate it, okay? They're going to lose on Wednesday, right? Alex, they're playing Detroit at home. They lost them twice already. They're 1-2 against them. Detroit's really good now, right?
You would think. Like Detroit's been rolling.
Oh. Atlanta on Friday. Oh, no, Houston on Friday. Oh, that's a loss. Yeah, that's a loss.
Probably.
Friday night game at 8:00. So fans, here's the other thing that's going to start to happen now. All right, fans aren't going to show up. We've already started to see this. So this whole thing about March, right? Like you had this
Well, tickets are
slew of
cheap
home
now.
games. They're very. I got like a message on Game Time that like it's like they're down like 72% or something like that. But like let's just say, okay, it's almost like they're Inter and Messi's not playing. You know, when they're pretending at Inter they are to keep the prices up. They a lot of fans are not going to show up now, particularly these weekend games. I think because they find other plans. A lot of seats are going to be empty now. And that doesn't help, certainly. Let's look at this. Detroit at home on Wednesday, Houston at home on Friday. Those are both losses. What would you say their odds are to beat Charlotte? They just lost to Charlotte to beat. I mean, if you're the Heat, like you should rest everybody Wednesday and Friday. Make sure everybody's healthy for Sunday against Charlotte because I feel like that you look at that one, that's a winnable game. Is it a winnable
And
game,
you know
Brady?
what?
Yes, go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, I just wanted to throw in really quickly that like remember now like the bottom 3 teams, like Charlotte is in that group. They're not really incentivized to tank
Win.
that hard. Like they're gonna stay in that spot. Like they're gonna stay with a 14%
Right.
chance or whatever it is at Cooper Flag, no matter how
That's
many
right.
more
They changed the rules because
I think there's a
changed.
chance they can get to outside of the top 3 still. So they obviously, for their stake, they should probably keep losing. But it's not like they're in a race for one. I think they're just in a race to stay in the bottom 3, basically.
Well, the Heat lost to them with LaMelo shooting like 2 of 82 from the field.
Yeah, missing Brandon Miller and other guys.
What would we say? You give them a 55% chance to win that game on Sunday,
Coin
Brady?
flip.
Yeah,
Coin flip?
I give them 55. You know what? I may even lean 60 if I'm feeling generous. It's a 6:00 game. It's who knows if LaMelo will even be playing. I know he's in and out of the lineup a lot, so you never know.
Yeah.
But that game doesn't matter because all eyes are going to be on the next game that you're going to name.
Well,
Which
okay.
is, that's the game they're going to be getting ready for better or worse.
Do they have any chance to win that game? We saw some bad Heat teams or not great Heat teams like gear up for LeBron when LeBron came in with Cleveland afterwards, and LeBron could never win in Miami. Do we give the Heat any chance to win that game against Jimmy on the 25th? The Heat might be on an 11-game losing streak at that point, or a 1-game winning streak if they've beaten Charlotte. Any chance, Alex?
I would say that it would be the same odds that they're going to have at moving into the top 4 in a few games by that time. So like whatever their 25% chance or whatever, I would even then that's probably generous because I just don't trust this team to do that.
I'm looking at this schedule right now, and I'm saying there are basically 5 games that I'd give them some chance to win. Okay, the Charlotte game at home. I'm saying some chance. I'm not giving them a lot of chance. 23rd against Charlotte. The game in Philly on the 29th. Although I think they'll lose it, but I could see them winning. In Washington on the 31st. By the way, they beat the Wizards. The Wizards are playing better lately. They've actually played a little bit better, and they're kind of in that same position. Right, and they're kind of in that same position where like they don't really lose a lot by winning. So they should be okay. But I'd say those 3, Charlotte, Philadelphia, Washington, there's no chance they win in Boston. There's no chance they beat Memphis and Milwaukee at home. So then you've got Philadelphia at home. That's 3. There's no chance they win in Chicago. They never beat the Bulls. That's a loss. New Orleans on the road, Washington at home. Those are the 5.
No chance they beat Chicago is hilarious.
You give them a chance to beat Chicago for what we've seen?
I mean, a chance, sure, but yeah, I get you. Like
The Bulls came down without 4. The Bulls came down without 4 of their core rotation players after trading Levine, and still beat Miami.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about 5 games possible. I say the Heat win 3 of them. Okay, what did I say the record is right now? 29, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 32 wins. So 32 and 50. Where's Toronto right now? And you said they're still playing as we speak,
24.
right?
Yeah, 24, and they're playing right now against Phoenix. Their game just started.
Okay. So including the game against Phoenix, to get to 32, they've got to go 8-6. If the Heat go 3-11 or whatever it is. I mean, the Raptors are 6-2 in their last 8. Like,
yeah.
Is this the team that fans who want the Heat to drop out of the play-in have been dreaming of? The Raptors? We haven't even annexed them as a country yet.
And
or state, whatever it is that they want to do in Washington.
The Raptors are not even playing Brandon Ingram, by the way.
Well, might they start to?
No, I don't think so.
Who are they playing right now? Who's I haven't followed the Raptors at all recently. Quickly, Barnes, who's playing? Total? I never.
Colin Castleton. They got Jamison Battle.
Heat legend Orlando Robinson.
Yes, Orlando Robinson. I should have named him immediately.
He led them to a win recently.
Yeah, but he also got blocked by a game-winning block by Matisse Thybulle. Like he was going to go for a 3 to, win it, and yeah. So shout out to Orlando Robinson there. But the Heat moving up potentially from 11 to 7, by the way, just to give people some context on what that would mean. Right now, they're in a virtual tie with the Blazers. Got to see what happens with the Blazers game. It's a little bit tough timing with the way we're recording the pod. But at number 11, right, your odds to get into the top 4 are about 9%. If you move up to number 7, your odds to move up into the top 4 in the lottery, 32%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a huge jump. That's a huge jump. Like, they can potentially stumble into a foundational piece here.
Do you think there's any chance that the Heat would do something? Because we know it's not their nature. I do not think they're tanking, by the way. I know people are still going to tell me they're tanking. I have people on group chats telling me I'm crazy, that they can't possibly be this bad. I do think they're this bad at the moment. I really don't think this is intentional. Do you think there's any point here where we would see them say to Bam, not that he's contributing to winning right now, but certainly it makes their chances harder. Like, nah, take a couple games with a, rest, hamstring pull, something like that. Because that would make it obvious, right?
Last few games, I could see that happening.
Bam, Tyler.
I don't know for the. It's very. I mean, you're kind of seeing it is. I'm not saying like what Wiggins' injury is, but you're kind of seeing it with certain guys like that. I think if they have a minor injury pop up, they're just not going to push it. I think that's the way they'll treat it. Like if there's any of these minor, like Davion Mitchell, I swear every time I see that guy score a basket or get fouled, he's holding his left wrist. Like those little things start to pop up. Like I think you're just going to see them get pulled out a little bit. But in terms of the culture, I don't think they're going to shut anybody down.
I still don't think they want to. I know people think I'm crazy on that, but I still think they're trying to.
They don't even really need to.
Well, that's the thing. That's where we're at. But I know people's concerns are that they're going to find a way to win 2 road games as like the 10 seed, and then screw and what the fans want, screw the whole thing up. I still don't think it's what the organization wants. I still don't think that they. Maybe I'm just totally crazy, or I'm talking to the wrong people. I don't know, but I get the sense they want to make the playoffs. Like that's.
Do we think they're capable of winning 2 in a row?
They don't know. I just said I don't think they're capable of winning more than 3 games the whole season, but I just know how these things play out. Like I don't know. Like what if you just have like the game they had against Atlanta, right? The second game, they scored 86 points in the first game, and then the second game they shot the lights out, right? Like, what if they just have one of those games? I mean, what if Duncan had scored 84 points today? He was on pace to do it early in the game. Like, I don't know.
Like, games in a row, though. They're just not capable of that. Like, they have 2 good shooters on the team.
I'm contradicting myself, I know. No, I know. I'm contradicting myself. All right, but anyway, I don't think that they want to tank. I still think that they don't want to give up the protections on the future picks and the flexibility and all that kind of stuff. But if we start to see Bam and Tyler missing time, and it seems, then maybe I'm wrong about all that. We'll see. All right, let's get to defending the house. I don't know what we're going to do here, but let's get to defending the house.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The real estate shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
I could just send it to Brady again. Should I send it to Brady again? Or should we have to defend the position?
Hold on, man. You can't keep doing this to him. I got you. I'll step in here.
You're going to tell me it's a tough question.
No, you making him answer all 3 segments is criminal because this is a brutal game to have to do that for. I got some stats for you to get us to the segment.
Oh, no. There's no stats that matter, Alex.
No.
Okay.
Just a couple of key ones, right? So that third quarter, right? The one where kind of everything unraveled.
Yes.
They gave up a 171 offensive rating in the quarter while the Heat's offensive rating.
Is that even possible?
Yeah, well,
the quarterback rating doesn't go past 158.3.
Again, the Heat's was 65, meaning the Knicks' offensive rating
basically outscored them by more than 100 points per 100 possessions.
Points per 100 possessions. That really tells you everything. And that wasn't the only bad quarter because really it started going bad in the second, where the Heat only put up 20 points, whereas in the third they put up 15. The difference was they gave up 29 in the second, 41 in the third. 41 points. So there you go. They weren't defending the house is what I'm trying to say here.
All right. I want to be clear on something, okay? Because I think it's going to come off that we've been a little lighthearted in a couple of these last post-game shows. I want to make it clear. I'm not laughing at their struggle. I'm not. Okay. I just want to be clear on that. I'm not. I understand they're professionals trying to figure it out. I'm sort of laughing at us that we got to do 15 more of these. That's really what I'm laughing at. I don't know where we go with these games. I don't. But perhaps we'll start doing Toronto Raptors post-game shows because I don't know. I feel like there's a little light. We can pod on the Raptors now for the next couple of weeks. I never thought, and we'll do some Jimmy episodes prior to his arrival here. I just never thought it would get this bad. I didn't. It's a collective collapse. I think we start to point to this player or this coach or this. This is just a full scale mail in. In a lot of ways, it just is. There's just quarters they just mail it in, and in some ways, I've said I understand because they have been kind of locked into this position, and because of all the circumstances of the season and the emotional weight of all of it. We can find excuses if we want to, but it's hard to watch. If you're a Heat fan still watching this. Like Eric Reed says, you're one of the true believers because this is difficult. I find my mind wandering during the games when we're at the games I've hit more concession stands. I've spent more money at the arena this season than I can remember, and we've tried everything, right? Skinny Louie's to what's that little stand where you get
no free promo,
the Poke Bowl, the 501. We've hit all that stuff.
Yeah, we could probably put together a podcast just ranking the different concession stands. Me and you, we're qualified.
We should. It's tough to watch a movie where you know the ending all the time. That's all.
We were talking about this on Playback, which I guess good spot to.
Playback.tv/5RS. Those are the true believers. Yes.
We were talking about it. It's like sports. What makes sports so cool is that you don't know what's going to happen, or there's some sort of unpredictability, right? Even if you know who are the good teams and not. And this team, it's the complete opposite. You know exactly what's going to happen. You just don't know at what point. So that's the one thing that keeps you on your toes. Are they going to blow it? Is the momentum completely going to swing and they're just going to lie down in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, or perhaps the second? That's the one thing you're wondering. But you just know it's coming at some point.
Well, I took my daughter to see. I'll close here. I took my daughter to see the movie Novocaine the other day. We probably shouldn't have. Makes me a bad father. Lots of violence, R-rated, but whatever. It was something to do on a Sunday night, and a couple of things struck me in that. Everything that happened at the end of that movie, which was somewhat enjoyable, you knew was coming. Guy was going to get shot, and then
spoiler alert.
He was going to get up, and then they were going to shoot him again, and then he was going to get up, and all this sort of stuff. My daughter, it was exhilarating. For me, I was like, I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but the thing that got me on it was. The dude in the movie, and this is not a spoiler, this is part of the trailer, he feels no pain. That's why his name is Novocaine. You could shoot him a million times, he feels no pain. I have felt at times watching this team like I wished I was him. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.